This is a review for your quiz on lessons 5.1 to 5.4. So we're going to talk about perimeter and area, solving equations, and inequalities. The first couple examples will be on perimeter and area. So the first problem says a triangle has a perimeter of 112 centimeters. We know one side length is 50 centimeters. The other is 48 centimeters. We're trying to find the length of the third. So the first thing I want you to do is to write the formula for perimeter of a triangle. We know that perimeter of a triangle is A plus B plus C, just all of those sides added together. We can plug in 112 for the perimeter because that's the total perimeter. We know one side is 50. We know one side is 48. And we don't know what the other side is. Doesn't matter what order you put these in. You'll still get one other side length for your variable. So then I'm going to simplify this. 112 equals 50 plus 48 is 98 plus C. Then to get C by itself, I'm going to subtract 98 from both sides or add negative 98. And I'm left with C equals 14. And then I always want to add a label. So that missing side length is 14 centimeters. Doesn't matter what variable you use. If you use X, A, B, or C, doesn't matter. The next problem says the area of a rectangle is 105 centimeters squared. The width is 15 centimeters. What is the length? So again, I'm going to start with the formula for area of a rectangle. I know area equals length times width. Then I can plug in 105 for the area. I don't know the length, but I do know the width. So I'm going to write this as 15 times L. I like to put that variable first. If you did L times 15, that's fine too. So to get that length by itself, I have to do the inverse to both sides. So right now it's 15 times L. The opposite of that would be divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 15 to get rid of that constant. And I'm left with the length equals, and then I take 105 divided by 15, and I get 7, and then always add a label. So the length is 7 centimeters. The next couple problems have to do with solving equations. So the first one is 12 minus 4q equals 6q plus 2. Again, we're going to follow that long steps of order of operations, the first one being add op. So I'm going to change this subtraction into plus negative. Then we have distribute. Then we have combine like terms. So can't do either of those. Then what I want to do is I want to get the variables to one side. So right now I have a negative 4q and a positive 6q. Well, I want to work with positive variables, so I'm going to get rid of that negative. And I'm going to add 4q to both sides because the opposite of negative is positive. That leaves me with 12 equals 6q plus 4q is 10q plus 2. Now I need to get rid of that constant. My constant is a positive 2, so I'm going to add negative 2 to both sides, which is the same as subtracting. And I'm left with 10 equals 10q. Then I need to get rid of that coefficient. I'm going to divide both sides by 10 because the opposite of multiplying is dividing. And I'm left with q equals 1. And then it's always good to check your answer on your test. If we just plug in 1 for q, 12 minus 4 times 1 equals 6 times 1 plus 2. Well, this would be 12 minus 4. Equals 6 plus 2. 12 minus 4 is 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. So yep, our answer of 1 works. The next example is 1/2 x plus 8 equals 1/4 x minus 16. So here I can see that I'm working with two different denominators, and I want to get those to be same denominators so that it makes our life a lot easier. But first thing I'm going to do is add op, of course. I can't distribute, I can't combine like terms, So before I get the variables to one side, I'm going to rewrite this 1/2 as 2/4. Because I know 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4, and now that they both have the same denominator, I can easily subtract 1/4 x from both sides. Or add negative 1/4 x. That leaves me with negative 16 on one side. And then 2/4 minus 1/4 is 1/4 x plus 8. Now I need to get rid of that constant, which is a positive 8. So to get rid of a positive 8, I'm going to add negative 8 to both sides, which is the same as subtracting. And now I can easily see here they have the same sign, so I add and keep. 16 plus 8 would be 24, and I keep the negative sign. So negative 24 equals 1/4 x. I know to get rid of a fraction in front of a variable, I have to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction. The reciprocal of 1/4 would be 4/1. Because what happens is those cancel. So I'm just left with x equals, and then I'm going to multiply negative 24 times 4, or you could do times 4/1, same thing. Negative 24 times 4 would be negative 96. And there's our answer. Another thing you're going to have to do on the quiz is solve equations by setting up double-sided equation and then solve it. So this says a pasta machine costs $33. The ingredients to make one batch of pasta cost 33 cents. The same amount of pasta purchased at the store costs 99 cents. How many batches of pasta will you have to make for the cost of the machine and ingredients to equal the cost of buying the same amount of pasta? So what we're comparing here is we're comparing buying a pasta machine and making our own pasta with our own ingredients, or just buying the box pasta at the store. We're figuring out how many batches would we have to make before these two are equal. So I know I'm going to set them equal to each other. And I'm going to first start with 99 cents times x, because that would be the batches of pasta for the pre-bought boxes. So 99 cents per box times how many boxes? And then I know that it was $33 for the machine. That's a one-time cost. Plus, and then it was 33 cents per batch. So I'm going to put that x on with the 33 cents. I can't add up, can't distribute, can't combine like terms, but I can get the variables on one side. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add negative 30.33x to both sides, which is the same as subtracting. And I'm left with 33 equals 66 cents times x. Okay, then to get x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 0.66, because the opposite of multiplying is dividing. And you can use your calculator on this. So if I take 33 divided by 0.66, I get 50. But this is a word problem, so we need to label. We need to figure out what is it asking us. Well, it says how many batches of pasta. So it would be 50 batches of pasta. All right, and then we're going to talk about inequalities. So first thing we need to do is solve them, then we'll graph them. I need to get, first of all, I want to look for that algebra triple O, algebra order of operations. I can't add up, can't distribute, can't combine like terms, but I can get that variable by itself by getting rid of the constant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add negative 9 to both sides, which is the same as subtracting. And I'm left with 6 is greater than z. Now, what I like to do is I always like to have the variable first. So I'm actually going to flip this around and write it as z is less than 6, because it makes it easier when we graph. So I'm going to plot the number 6 because that's the number I'm working with. I'm going to do a couple numbers to both sides, just creating a number line here. And then my circle above the 6 would be open because there's no line underneath my inequality sign, which means 6 is not included in my solution. And then z is less than 6. So picking a number that's less than 6, well, 4 is less than 6, so I know my arrow is going to point to the left. The next one says p divided by -5 is less than or equal to -6. So remember, to get rid of that divided by -5, we're going to multiply both sides by the denominator. So multiplying both sides by -5. That leaves us with p is, and then whenever we multiply or divide by a negative number, our sign flips. So instead of less than or greater than, this changes to greater than or equal to. I think I said less than or greater than. Less than or equal to changes to greater than or equal to. And then I take -6 times -5, which is 30. Whoops. So I know my answer here is p is greater than or equal to 30. Then I'm going to plot 30. I'm going to plot a couple numbers on my number line to both sides. My circle above 30 is going to be closed because there's a line under the inequality sign, which means 30 is included in my answer. And then p is greater than or equal to 30. Well, I know 32 is greater than 30, so my arrow is going to point to the right. We're almost done here, just a few more. We're going to just write inequalities for these situations. So this says the Giant Stadium in New Jersey can seat up to 80,242 people. Write an inequality to represent the number n of people that the stadium can seat. So I know we have the number n and then 80,242. I have to figure out what that inequality would be. So if I think about this stadium, there could be only 100 people in the stadium, maybe for a practice or something. There could be 80,000 people in the stadium. There could be exactly 80,242 people in the stadium, but there can't be any more than that. So I know that n has to be less than or smaller than or exactly equal to 80,242. Then the next one says write a verbal sentence as an inequality and solve. A number divided by 4 is at most 8. So we have a number divided by 4. X divided by 4 is at most would be less than or equal to. It can be smaller than 8 or it can be exactly 8, but 8 is the absolute biggest it can be. Then we have to solve this. So to get rid of that divided by 4, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And since I'm multiplying by a positive number, I don't have to flip the sign. And this just becomes x is less than or equal to 8 times 4 is 32. 2 more left. This one says to earn a partially meet score on your MCA, your score needs to be at least 740 and less than 750. Write an inequality to show your score, the score that you need to partially meet the standards. So I like writing these double inequalities separately first and then smushing them together. So we have x and 740. We have x and 750. Well, I know this less than, easy, right? X is less than 750. And then using your chart, you can see that at least is greater than or equal to. So it can be 740, but it has to be either that or more than that. So then when I smush them together, I write my variable in the middle. Remember, there has to be only one variable and arrows have to point the same direction. So I tend to always start with the second one. X is less than 750. And then here we have x is greater than or equal to 740. So I'm going to flip that alligator mouth so that it's still eating the x and write 740 on the opposite side. And there's my double inequality. We have one variable in the middle. The arrows are pointing in the same direction. The last one then says a wheelbarrow weighs 25 pounds when empty after filling it with yard waste, it weighed more than 42 pounds. So it weighs 25 when empty. We filled it with something, it weighs 42 pounds now. We need to find the weight of the yard waste using an inequality. Okay, we can't do an equal sign here because we have this keyword of more than. That tells us it's going to be an inequality. So we know that there's 25 pounds of the wheelbarrow plus some amount of yard waste that we're putting in there. We know that that is going to be more than 42 pounds. So I'm going to write that as greater than 42. Then to solve this, I'm going to add negative 25 to both sides so that I can get x by itself. And I'm left with x is greater than 42 minus 25 is 17. So the weight of the yard waste is greater than 17 pounds. All right, good luck on your quiz. You got it.